Hi everyone, this is Meg at Chasing Retro. Today will be the first day that I make a video for my collaboration that I started last week. Officially started today, I guess, because today's my first crafting day. I shared this graphic last weekend in my community page and also as a free download in my Ko-fi shop. If you would like to participate, feel free to go grab this, download it, print it, save it on your desktop, whatever you'd like to do. And then you can just join in. You don't have to follow a set schedule. You don't have to do a certain prompt on a certain day. You don't even have to let me know that you post a video. But if you would do that, that would be awesome because I'm compiling a list of everyone's videos and I'm making them into a playlist on my channel so that will get your video more views. And it will also allow you to just hit play all if you want to just watch a whole list of what everybody's been making so far. So today I thought I would make fabric tags because that is one of the supplies that I'm lowest on right now. I do have a few left, but they're mainly very themed, like summer themed, and I just need some generic ones in my stash so that I can grab them to put into journals instead of having to hand make all of the items and ephemera that I put into every new journal. I try to make some that are themed, of course, to go in my theme journals, but it's really also nice to have some that are just random and eclectic and can be used for any use or any journal. So that's what I'll do today. I'm not going to mark it off because I may come back and do this again. I'm probably not going to make as many as I'd like to in one day. And there are more than one types of fabric tags. You can do a collaged fabric tag. You can do a fabric tag that is quilted, faux quilted, or like a Franken paper but with fabric kind of tag. There's so many different things you can do. But I'm just going to do my standard solid fabric tag, the one that I do almost always. Most of the time, if it's a print material, I don't embellish. If it's a less printed material, sometimes I will embellish a little bit. So come along with me. I may chat a little bit. I may turn off my talking and put on some music. Just speed up the video a little bit because otherwise this video will be over an hour long. And I hope that you will join me for the next one whenever I decide to post that. Probably this weekend because it's supposed to be very, very rainy and remnants of a hurricane coming through. So again, join in, use the hashtag ReadySetStash. So today, let me show you what I've got gathered here. When I make fabric tags, one of my favorite backing products to use is file folder. I buy these in packs of 10 or 20, I can't remember, from Walmart, and it's their own back-to-school brand called Pen and Gear. They're not thick, they're very thin, and I like that better for fabric tags, just because some of the fabrics that I use is thick, and I don't really like to put a thick fabric on a thick backer because then it takes up, if you want to put more than one item in a pocket, you can't if it's a really thick fabric tag. These are leftovers from other things that I've used this file folder for. As you can see, a little bit of maybe a newspaper piece that I glued down and then cut out. So I like to use the pieces and the remnants first. And then once I've used all of these up, I go and I start cutting up new folders. I use these scissors most of the time because these are my older, more dull fabric scissors. You really ideally need fabric scissors to do this, but I wouldn't use your nice fabric shears because you also will be cutting cardstock and that will dull your scissor. So I use mine that are a little bit used. I need to get them sharpened really, but then I have a selection of tag templates. These are just, some of these are, this is a gift wrap tag, but I have it sewn around it, so I consider it unfinished. I just get a variety of sizes, widths, and heights, different angles of the little thing on top. This is a Tim Holtz tag. And you'll see in a minute, I use these as a template when I'm cutting out my tags. Sometimes I don't use a template, and I'll show you how I do that. Say I wanted to use this piece so I didn't throw it away. I'll put a piece of fabric here, and then I will cut it into a tag and use every little piece of this that I can. Gathered here beside me is a stack of fabrics that I ordered off eBay last week, or maybe the week before. You might have remembered that. Some of these are vintage, some may be really vintage, I'm not sure. But I thought they'd be perfect for this project. And I also grabbed one of my favorite baskets in my entire craft room. This is the basket of, not small enough to go in my fabric scrap box for making snippets and snippet rolls. This is the next size up. So these are mainly probably anywhere from 4 to 8 inch pieces of fabric. I like to glue my fabrics down with regular old glue stick. I don't really like using Fabri-Tac for this because some fabrics are very sheer, and even though Fabri-Tac is a wonderful glue that doesn't really show residue, occasionally it will show through. You can see the lines that you've made with the glue, and I don't want that on these, so I'm using a glue stick. The way to secure the fabric onto the cardstock is sewing, and we'll do that at the end. All right, so let's start with this piece. I'm going to cut this off because I consider this an extra satellite piece, if you will, and I don't really want that on there. I'll save a little pile over here of the small pieces that I can use for tiny tags. So we'll start with this one first. I have my glue book here just to make it easier for not getting glue on everything underneath. All right, so some pieces of fabric you might have are perfect for tags. I mean, that is exactly tag width. But if you'll notice here, if I were to use that on this piece, it pretty much takes away a good part of the usable space of the file folder. So I'm gonna see if I can find a wider piece. Let me see. Okay, I see some calico here that might work. Yep, that'll work. So I'm gonna glue this here. And as you'll see, I do have some extra, but that can be, actually I might move it down here. This is enough that I can cut off and put in my scrap box for snippets and stuff. So we will definitely glue to this bottom portion. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to kind of eyeball where I need to go up to with the glue. And I'm just gonna cover the whole area. You don't have to be crazy with the amount of glue that you use because like I said, once it dries, you will take it to your sewing machine and you will secure it. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together. You wanna try to preserve as much of the fabric as you can. In fact, I should have moved this up a little bit. Let me do that. You want to try to preserve as much of the fabric as you can. You don't, although we do try to use every scrap that we have, it's impossible to use some of the tiniest little scraps. So if you can plan ahead by placing things in a Tetris type way to kind of use up every allowable space possible, it lets you have less waste at the end. So this will go in my scrap box. I did not bring it over here with me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this little dish here that was my grandma's. I'll put this in front of me and this will be my catch-all for my pieces to go in the scrap bin. Okay, so now this is going to be too wide, I believe, for a tag. I mean, it could be used, but it would probably fill the entire pocket. Actually, it'd have to be a very large journal to have a pocket this big. So I'm just gonna place this about here. See how I kind of went off the paper a little bit right there? So I'm gonna avoid that. And I'm going, oops, I need to move this down, don't I? I'm going to make sure that I hold this tightly when I cut it. It's very easy for it to shift sideways when you're cutting like this. I also don't want to cut onto my template because I want to reuse it many times. I find this 2-finger on the front, 2 on the back with 1 on top technique to be my favorite. Although it will make your hand cramp up if you do this too long. So take breaks, guys. This is not a marathon session. We don't have to make 150 tags this afternoon. Do what you can. Even just 5 more will allow me to have more in my stash than I did when I started. We have this cute little triangle here, and I don't know, I just can't let go of this. So I'm gonna save this too and put it in another little pile to be used in an embellishment. So here we go. It's got a little bit of frayed edge, but that's okay. Oops, look, I need to trim this up. So you can just go back and trim along the bottom. And like I said, we'll take this over to the sewing machine. Now, poking a hole in these is not going to work with a regular hole punch. You're going to need to use something like a crocodile. When you punch, you'll see in a moment, I'm going to let it dry. It will, depending on the cloth, it will sort of fray the cloth and it will look ugly. So after I do that, after I make the hole, I get a pair of small scissors, not these. I have like fussy cut scissors, and I'll trim the threads right up to the surface of the tag. Then I will put in an eyelet. That will make sure that I can put whatever I'd like to, whatever type of yarn or whatever I'd like to through the hole without it furthering fray the fabric. If you don't want to poke a hole in this, that's fine. You can always do a fabric tab that you fold over and sew to the top, or you can put a little snippet of a ruffle, or if the tag is super busy and you want to leave it like it is, that is also acceptable. Tags do not always have to have something coming out of the top of them. All right, so now that this is done, look what I'm gonna do. It does have some glue on it, but that's fine. I'm gonna save this piece. I'm gonna put it in my fabric scrap box, and I'm gonna save it for a rainy day. Literally, this weekend is going to be rainy. So maybe I'll make fabric snippets this weekend. Okay, so now what do we have here? We have almost a complete square shape, not quite. So whatever fabric I choose needs to stay on this side. Let's pick something else here. I'm trying to find something more colorful this time. Now this is fun. I think I got this in Happy Mail. It's almost like a bandana type print. This is actually perfect. I will have to lose that beautiful frayed edge though. That's okay. So I'm gonna put glue now. And this fabric doesn't have a lot of visual elements at the top, so I'm gonna kind of let that part hang off. It's fine if I put that in my scrap box rather, but I'm not going to make that a part of my tag. All right, let's see if I have, well, that's just downright perfect, isn't it? This allows me to cut off that frayed edge, but still have as much as possible in my width. So now I have this cute little triangle piece, and I'll put that in my scrap bin. If you had told me when I was about 20 that I would be one of those ladies who holds onto tiny little scraps of things, I probably would have laughed. But that is exactly what I have turned into. And honestly, I kind of like that spirit. The spirit of scarcity, if you will, and being a good steward of what you have. Not looking at things as so expendable. All right, I kind of cut this a little too much right there, so I'm gonna trim just a millimeter or micromillimeter off the edge. Is this straight? For some reason, this is feeling like it's not straight to me. Okay. Okay, look, how cute is that? Now, you can use a different color thread for sewing these, or you can use a contrasting thread. Like, I think it'd be kind of cool to use a bright coral or a lime green or something against this blue. Or if you don't like changing the color thread in your sewing machine, say that it's tedious. I know my brother machine makes it pretty easy to do, but my former Singer machine, oh my goodness, I dreaded having to change the thread. Then you can just use a plain white or a plain black and just mow through these. Just sew them all in one sitting. That would also be perfectly acceptable, especially if your fabric is bright like this. All right, I'm gonna put on music and fast forward the speed a little bit. Now I'm going to show you another technique for making tags that is not quite so clean cut, if you will. This is a little bit more of a rustic look or a homespun look. I really like doing this one as well. So what you do for this one is you go ahead and pre-cut your tag shape first from whatever type of cardstock or file folder you'd like, and you cover the entire shape with glue. Same glue stick as before. Then you get a piece of fabric. I have one pre-selected here, and you put it down, glue side down on the reverse side of the fabric with enough room to spare around all 4 edges to allow you to use pinking shears. My pinking shears have a rubber grip, which I love. However, if I use them too long, it rubs a blister right here. So I don't mass make things with these. I try to limit my use of them per day. Maybe I'll invest in some non-rubber grip pinking shears at some point, but these cut really well. So now what you're gonna do is you can leave as much as you want, up to a 1/2 inch probably, but I usually like to just leave about 1/4 inch on the outside, and you just cut as straight as you can, leaving that border all the way around. I kind of messed up right there. See how it went in a little bit, but you know what? These are junk journals, so I'm not gonna fret too much about that. It's hard to cut open and start a new cut with pinking shears, I have found. Matching up the little teeth. Okay, I'm gonna take this over to the sewing machine now. I have a little fold, and I'm going to sew around the edge just like I did for the others, and then I will be back with my finished products. All right, let me show you the finished tags. Here is one of the turquoise with the flowers, and I sewed a ruffle at the top that I already had in my stash. That one is finished with a dark brown thread. This one I used light pink. I thought I would use this one perhaps in the Mary Poppins journal, so I wanted a blue and pink theme. I decided to leave it unembellished for now in case I decide to add something themed as a decoration later. These 2 tags, I love the different colored gingham. I only had a few small quilting squares of this material that I found at my local craft reuse store. So I just glued a sewing pattern girl down to this tag, and I left this one unembellished for now. I put a grosgrain ribbon in this one, and another way you can do with tags, this is more of like a clothing tag. You can just rope it all the way through and then do a knot at the end. I love this one. I wanted to keep this one simple, so I put in a gold eyelet and then gold trimmed navy ribbon. This one has the brown thread. This one I left as is, and I used black thread around the edges. This one is another brown sewn tag and of the same turquoise, and I used red sari silk. This is actually one of the flowers that I got in Happy Mail from Carol, Lily Rose Blue, this week. I put a little indigo metallic brad in the middle and glued it down, and then put a little gingham fabric tie. Last but not least, here is the rustic or raw edged tag. Don't look too closely at my sewing, it's hardly ever straight. But I just decided to add a grosgrain ribbon tab to the top of that one. So those are the tags that I have created today. I'm going to take a little break, get some coffee or tea, come back to it. And like I said, I hope that you will join me for some more of these collaboration prompts. You don't have to go in order. It's just really funny that a lot of us, including myself, decided to start with this one. It's not because they're in order, it's because I was most excited about that one. So I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.